welcome to the Teaching Corner. Today I want to teach you a method to teach students how to learn high frequency words that are not spelled the same way that we say them. I like to call these red words. In some lower elementary schools, you're going to have fry lists, dolch lists, sight word lists, all of these lists that kids are supposed to memorize in order to read. Now, as an Orton-Gillingham tutor, those lists are not my favorite because many of those words actually follow the rules. And if we would wait to introduce those words to students when they got to them in the sequence, then they could actually just learn the rule behind the word and know that it follows the rules. There are some words, however, that we say in the English language that are spelled nothing like the way they say. A lot of them tend to have Germanic background, and they do tend to be high frequency words, like the word said, S-A-I-D. If you were following the rules, it should say said, but we pronounce it as said, S-E-D, and that's the way most students are going to spell it. So for those words or red words, I'm going to teach you a way to teach them where students are going to tactilely and visually and auditorily learn those words in a quick way. And so you only introduce one or two of these words to a student a week, but by the time they're done with these words and you review them in your review and reinforcement every day, students will have these words down by heart. So the process is this. You take a piece of paper and you're going to draw lines on them, and I draw this line, I fold it in half, and I draw this line at the top so the student could write the number. So if they've learned 7 red words, this might be number 7. And then you have lines on here so that they can write the word really large. So the teacher would write the word on the board and say it, and the student would write it on here, and they're going to use a red crayon. The reason for a red crayon is because we are writing this on top of our screen. If a student uses a pencil, they're going to poke a hole through it, or a colored pencil, they're going to poke a hole through it. And the reason you use the crayon is it leaves a little bit of a waxy substance. So when we go through this procedure, they're actually going to feel that bump underneath their fingers, and it's going to leave a deeper neural imprint. So after the teacher has written it on the board, the student is going to spell it out, S-A-I-D, and then they'll underline it and say said. Now we put down our crayon, and the student is gonna, this will of course be on a tabletop, but the student is now gonna trace it 3 times while saying each letter and then underlining and saying the final word. So S-A-I-D, said, S-A-I-D, said, S-A-I-D, said. Now the student is going to put this underneath the screen, and again, we can see the word. So now the student is going to do it, S-A-I-D, said. And this is going to give them a different tactile input. They're going to feel more of the screen instead of the waxy crayon. So they're going to do this 3 times, S-A-I-D, said, S-A-I-D, said. So now they've done this 6 times. Now they're going to put down their screen, and they're going to hold it in their non-dominant hand, and they're going to tap with their dominant hand. So I'm right-handed, so I put it in my left hand, and I'm going to start at my shoulder, S-A-I-D, said. They're going to do this 3 times, and you want to be sure while they're doing it that they're actually looking at the letters so they spell it correctly. S-A-I-D, said. And the reason we tap is so that they feel each letter, they feel the drum beats of each letter in their body, and then we slide to help their brain remember that we blend that together to say that word. So after they've done that 3 times, they're going to flip it over, and again with their crayon, they're going to take their crayon and they're going to write, now not on top of the screen, but just on top of their desk, said. And you're going to have them do it just 1 time so that you can look, and if you have just 1 student, that's super easy, but if you have a table full of students, you want to make sure that they're doing it correctly, because now you've erased it off the board so they don't have any visual stimuli telling them how to spell it. Hopefully they've remembered it. So they're doing it again. If they get it correct, you then let them write it 2 more times on their own, and they of course are saying it each time as they do it. SAID said, SAID said. Finally, at the very end, you're going to have the student generate a sentence using this word. So she said no. And then you're going to check it using COPS. And I'll put a link down below for COPS. But basically, you're going to check, did they capitalize the first word? Did they put a period? Or all the words spelled correctly? What I like to do then is, now the student has done it on top of the screen 3 times, they've done it under the screen 3 times, they've tapped it 3 times, so that's 9, they've written it 10, 11, 12, and we've done it in a sentence 13, plus the original time that they did it is 14 times that this student has now done this word. So after they're completely finished, I like to take everything away and I'll ask the student, now how do you spell said? And then hopefully they'll say SAID. So remember, you only want to do 1 or 2 red words a week. You want it to truly be a red word, something that we have to stop and think about because it doesn't follow the rules. And like I said, at one point in time, it probably did. We probably pronounced it as said. But over time, we now don't pronounce it that way. So we need to have a way that we can figure it out and remember it. Well, I hope that was helpful. If it was, please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you later. Bye!